Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today we're in none other than Walmart. And the reason is because today we're going to be scaping out a full-blown Aquascape tank with nothing but products from Walmart. As you've seen in the past, you know that we have done all kinds of tanks from Walmart before, and you can see some of those right here, right now. But I've gotten a lot into the aquascaping lately, and I thought, hey, can we use the fake plants and everything else that they have at Walmart to try to do a really cool aquascape only using products at Walmart? Let's see if we can do that, and let's get into this. Now, Walmart does not have the greatest selections of plants. And a lot of this stuff is really rough and it can hurt fish and things like that. But a lot of these things that are up here in these packages seem to be okay. They're pretty soft and such. So here's a perfect package actually right here. It looks like there's some, maybe, I'm not sure what they would consider that. It looks like maybe some bacopa and some hornwort possibly, but it's green, looks good. So we're gonna take that one. Then we're gonna come over here and we're gonna grab maybe both of these. This looks like some sort of what they call moneywort, maybe some foxtail, some kabamba. So we're gonna take both of these as well. And then we're gonna come back over here and we're gonna grab some of these small green plants. These things look pretty good as well. So I think that's good for right now, but we also wanna look outside of just the fish keeping aisle. Now, as far as filtration and everything for this tank goes, we're not gonna be using a filter, we're gonna be using a sponge filter because we already have all that at home, as well as we have a glass aquarium. Also, if you notice, these fish bowls right here, they're terrible. We just did a fish bowl in the fish room, which is amazing, and it looks nothing like these right here. Don't buy these, guys. Do not buy these. So as far as plants go, that is going to be the start of our plants. We're going to go over actually into the home goods section and see if they have any plastic plants that do not have wire in them. We'll talk about that more when we get over there. All right, so this is what we're talking about. These green plants right here, these are full plastic plants. There is no metal in them, which means that they won't rust in the tank, but we'll have to clean these really, really good before we put them in there. So we're going to take one of those. We're going to take maybe one of those and maybe this big one back here, and let's see what else they have. Some of this here, that looks good. Oh, it's thyme. This right here as well, which looks really good. Now this has metal in the bottom. We'll just clip that off and only leave the plastics. We'll take that. Now for substrate, I'm going to use the silica-based pool filter sand, but I already have a bag at home, so there's no point in buying more. Thing is, coarse and fine gravel. I could get pea gravel here. It's about $4 a bag, but I already have that at home as well, so we're going to use that. But once again, you can get it here. So now what we're trying to do is find some sort of a centerpiece, kind of driftwood kind of thing. So I'll pick you guys back up when we locate something. It may take us a while because we are in Walmart and they don't sell driftwood, so we'll see you over there. Well, after walking around this store for a long time looking for things, I've determined this is going to be a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. So make sure you go ahead and drop a like on this video because this is taking me a really long time to find stuff to do this with, but you know what, that's okay. I really enjoy kind of doing these kinds of things, so make sure you drop a like. We may have to expand this a little bit and not use just things from Walmart. How about we also expand it to using things free from your own yard? How about that? I cannot find any driftwood. I cannot find any really decorative rocks per se, but I do have the small pea gravel and things like that we will use. But as far as a nice big centerpiece, we're gonna just go find that right in our yard. I'll meet you back at the house. All right, guys, well, we're back at the house now. So we have this pile of yard trash that's right here, and basically what we're going to be doing is taking some of the branches from this. Now, only certain types of wood can go into your aquarium. This is actually a mixture of pine wood, which is not safe for an aquarium. In fact, it's not safe for pretty much any kind of animal. And then we also have pecan wood. I've used pecan wood in my aquariums before for pieces of driftwood, like the riverbank aquarium that you can see on the screen right here. That wood right there is actually pieces of this pecan wood. So what I'm going to do is just find some small little pieces, you know, like this piece right here. That's a good piece, so we're going to put that piece over here, and then we're going to come back in and we're going to find just some really cool kind of rugged kind of pieces. Like we want the ends of this stuff, like this right here. That's a good piece. Now granted, I'm going to get those leaves off there. We'll use that. Come over and grab some of this right here. Hopefully I don't get bit by a snake. That's a good piece. And we don't need a lot of this, just simply because it is in fact only a 10-gallon tank, and we want to make sure that this stuff is really nice and dried out. Okay, as far as wood goes, this is everything we're going to be using wood-wise. Is this right here? Now let's see if we can find some rock. I have some of this sandstone. I've actually used this in my tanks before too. So we're going to try to find a bunch of this stuff right here out of my yard. The Molly breeding pond looks really good. It's doing fantastic. Got all kinds of babies in there. Some more of this sandstone here. And some more there. What we're going to be using for substrate here is a mixture of pool filter sand and all-purpose sand, both of which you can purchase at Walmart. I already had this at the house, that's why we did not purchase it. It's already cleaned, it's been stored, all those good things, so it's ready to go into a tank, which is why I'm using this. Second, sandstone. This stuff is plentiful around where I live. I use this stuff in my tanks all the time, and in fact, when I scape, this epic betta tank right here, this has the sandstone in it, as well as the riverbank tank that you see right here. And today, this Walmart planted aquarium, I'm gonna be using this stuff as well. We're gonna be using some branches and twigs from a pecan tree, which we will talk about this in a little more depth here in just a little bit. And finally, all of our fake plants from Walmart, which is what makes this scape so interesting. So by the time we're done with this scape with all of these fake plants, what we really want it to look like is we want it to look like an actual scape aquarium. We're gonna get into this and see if we can do that. Now, I'm gonna admit, I'm not really sure how this thing is gonna turn out, but you know what? We're gonna give it a go. So what I'm gonna be using, like I said earlier, is a combination of this sandstone with some pecan wood. Now, the sandstone and the pecan wood have been fully sanitized. I have taken those, I have boiled them, soaked them, all kinds of things like that, because they did come out of my yard. So therefore, they had to be sanitized. We are actually back at this video after days and days of that occurring, because we don't want to hurt any fish that we put into this tank. So the number one thing that we need to do is go ahead and get this substrate in here, and I'm just going to start pouring this stuff in here right out of this bucket. This substrate has been pre-washed and is ready for use. I don't know exactly how much we're going to need, but we're going to see. So we're going to take this paintbrush and we're just going to start getting this stuff kind of pushed down in here. Now the nice thing is we don't have to use planted substrate because, well, these plants are fake. So we're going to go ahead and continue getting this substrate just kind of pushed in here and kind of scaped out the way we want it, really. And the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to build this up in the back a little bit, make it higher in the back than it is in the front. Now that we have our substrate kind of laid out, and it's a much shallower area up here with a much higher area here, which that kind of flows down this way. So now what we're going to do is start placing some of this rock, and I'm going to start with this piece here because it's kind of the biggest and the centerpiece, and I want that to just kind of push down in here like that, and then we will kind of backfill this around it just to make it more natural looking on the back side of it as well. And now we're going to go ahead and add some more of this rock. So next we're going to start with our wood. Before I start tearing any of this stuff down, I kind of want to get it in here and take a look, kind of see what it looks like, because I want this to somewhat have the same flow. And now we're going to change the entire scape up just based on the way this wood looks. I'm going to hold this over here and we're going to move this rock structure out a little bit. That's just what happens when you start aquascaping things. It just kind of changes up. So we want to get the hardscape done first, and in order to do that, we got to make sure that it looks good for the plants and such. So I'm going to move this stuff back a little bit this way. I'm using some of these larger stones back here just because this wood is in fact not completely saturated, so it will float when we fill this with water. So I'm using the larger stones just to kind of hold it into place, which is fine. You won't be able to see these because we're going to cover them with substrate here in just a moment. I mean, you may be able to see some of them, but for the most part you won't be able to. Well, now that we have this hardscape semi-done, I want to go ahead and start adding some of these plants. Now these plants are plastic and they have been fully washed and are ready for use. You don't want to use any harsh chemicals or anything like that, and you want to make sure that they don't have wire in them because you don't want it to rust inside of your water. So these are all full plastic plants, and we're just going to start sticking these in there and see where we can make these kind of look good. So I put this piece of hornwort or moneywort, whatever they call it, over on this side, but I'm actually going to change that. I'm going to place it over here, and the reason is because, like I told you in the beginning, we're going to be using a sponge filter to filter this tank, and I'm actually going to put that in this back corner here, and this will be perfect to hide that. So what I'm going to do is move this piece of what I would assume is bacopa over near this rock and lay this down this way. And then we're gonna take this piece of money wart, we're gonna place it behind this rock here, get that nice and buried. And then we're gonna take this foxtail and we're gonna put this over here as well. And then that'll allow us to place our sponge filter back here and you won't be able to see it as much. But in the meantime, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and start decorating this with some more coarse rock just around the base here, just to kind of give it a more naturalistic look. Well, now that we have that in there, go ahead and get this tank set where it's actually gonna go for the time being, and we'll see you back here in just a minute. Well, now that we have this thing completely set up, we just need to add a little more detail to it and get some of this substrate cleaned up here, which is nothing serious. We have a little bit of a spot back here that we want to get some rocks pushed up in just to make it look natural, and just get this substrate kind of pushed around, get these rocks pushed down inside of here, kind of like this. Now all I want to do is just add some of this small fine detail rock, and we are just going to kind of sprinkle this stuff in here like this, and there you have it. This thing is done. So now I want to get some water in this thing and see what this thing looks like when all these plants stand up, and then we'll get the filtration in here and see what kind of fish we can put in here. All right, guys, well, this tank is completely done, and now all we need to do is go ahead and treat this water, and we're gonna go ahead and treat this water with some API stress coat to go ahead and dechlorinate and remove all the chlorines and chloramines from the water, as well as some quick start, which allows the instant addition of fish. However, we know that we also should wait for the tank to naturally cycle, even using something like Quick Start, but that's okay, because what we're going to be putting in here today, we have a pre-cycled sponge filter right here that's actually going to drop in here once we get the water dechlorinated. If we put this in there right now, what would happen is the chlorine in the water would kill all the good beneficial bacteria that already exist in this sponge, and we don't want that to happen. So this came out of one of my guppy tanks from the old fish room when I relocated the guppies to the new fish room, so it's fully cycled, ready to go. So with the addition of this, we can actually instantly add fish safely, because the beneficial bacteria actually colonizes and lives in the sponge or in your filtration media, not in your water column. So we're just going to pour this around the tank a little bit here, let that stuff start sinking. We now are going to just mix this water up a little bit, get this stuff flowing. We can go ahead and drop our sponge filter right down in here. Put that right there. And with that, we have a fully functional, ready for fish Walmart scaped tank. So we got to take a closer look at this, guys. I mean, this thing actually looks pretty sick for the fact that we use all fake plants as well as material from the front yard. So let's go ahead and figure out what kind of fish we're going to put in here. I'm thinking a few guppies maybe. So let me look around and see if we have some guppies that we can throw into this tank, and I'll see you guys back here in just a minute. Look at the guppies. Like they're in here swimming around. Everything looks fantastic. So the question becomes is, can you make a really cool aquascaped tank with fake plants from Walmart? And before you make the decision, let's take a closer look at this thing. This thing looks really good considering the wood and the rock came from my yard, and everything else in here decorative wise all came from Walmart, or you could buy it from Walmart, right? Because I did in fact use leftover sand and such that I had here, but you can absolutely buy that stuff from Walmart. So my question is what do you guys think about this? I mean, I don't necessarily like these color plants, like the ones that are actually from the aquarium section, I don't like so much. But these over here, well, actually that one right there came from the aquarium section, but these over here look really good, really natural. They actually look real to an extent. So I'm kind of happy with the way this thing turned out. So I want you guys to let me know in the comments what you think. It is a little busy over on this side with this hornwort and foxtail and such. I was trying to hide that sponge filter, but overall, for what I spent on those plants and gathering this stuff up, this thing looked really, really good. And the guppies are just straight up living life in here. And in fact, do we want to turn this into a challenge? Should we challenge somebody to aquascape something with material only from Walmart? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments if there's somebody I should challenge. I would challenge Finatic, but well, we all know he doesn't keep fish anymore. So let me know in the comments and we'll see if we can get that done. But with all of that, guys, I am truly grateful for each and every one of you for sticking around and watching my content. And with all of that, if you don't mind, make sure you subscribe and like this video and drop a comment before you go if you haven't already, as well as make sure you follow me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. Links to all that stuff are down below in the description. And we will see you next time.